Hello everyone, my name is Gražvydas, and I will be presenting the Lithuanian case study. The case study is concerned with preserving extensive dairy farming by increasing the market competitiveness of small-scale dairy farms. Next slide, please. So the farming system of interest is small-scale extensive dairy farms, which are very abundant in Lithuania, with focus on farms that process their milk, that have an aim of producing good quality produce, and basically for this, the environmental performance is a prerequisite. Now, the dilemma is how to maintain and encourage this extensive management of grazing and extensive management of grassland habitats while becoming or remaining competitive in the market without intensifying the farming practice. Because Lithuania is rich with grasslands, and now the problem is that it's being turned into arable, so there's an intensification. Next slide, please. The main sustainability issues are the decrease in the area of permanent grassland, wetland habitats that are very often valuable from the biodiversity perspective. And there has been a huge loss by over like 20% in the last 20 years. And on the right, you can see a graph that represents this change. Now, the number of dairy farms have also been on decline, and especially in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, total number has reduced by 50%, and mainly at the expense of smallholders. Also, there is, of course, a decline in the number of dairy cattle. Now, the stage of transition investigated is early stage of an ongoing transition. As I said, we are focused on the processing farms that are concerned with their good environmental performance. Next slide, please. Key actors involved in our multi-actor platform are farmers, farmer associations, such as Organic Farmers Association and few small farm associations, and Organic Dairy Cooperative. Then there is state institutions such as Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment, National Food and Veterinary Service. Then there is Lithuanian Agricultural Advisory Service, some representatives from academia and NGOs. Now, the main agro-ecological practices we identified is related to extensive management, such as extensive grazing on permanent meadows. Some more innovative extensive farmers did grazing in rotations, manage their cattle to grazing in rotations. Animal diversification is common, and some of the farmers investigated used locally adapted animal breeds. And also, for those who manage temporary grassland, there was an idea to use high diversity, locally adapted grass crop mixtures to improve the meadow longevity and resilience to weather patterns and drought. Some further ideas were to use an increased proportion of legume grass on temporary grassland, so this would reduce the need to use concentrate feed. Less can be used. So, and there were many other measures. Next slide, please. Now, the sustainability implications and trade-offs. So, in the graph you can see on the left, there are 5 farms. 2 of them are organic, and 3 are small-scale cheesemakers whose environmental performance was very comparable actually to organic farms. On the right hand, you can see a conventional farm. So there's clearly a difference in their sustainability assessment. But several findings are, we found that environmental integrity indicators were high among the farmers who process their own dairy and that are concerned with the quality of their goods. So they used extensive farming practices. They had a bit lower productivity, but in terms of milk yield, but their economic performance was good since high added value is produced on farm. But actually, still, there are not that many processing farmers because few farmers dare to take up processing. There are about 200 registered dairy processing farmers. Now, extensive farming practice had lower CO2 footprint and higher environmental performance. And if we look at a more conventional farming, typical dairy is combined with other farming such as arable, intensive arable is often the case. And sustainability issues include the conversion of permanent grasslands to arable. And there has been an alarming issue that Lithuania has crossed one of the EU's good agricultural and environmental conditions threshold for permanent grassland ratio. And actually, we will have to restore permanent grasslands to fix the situation. Other issues are loss of habitats and biodiversity due to intensification and nutrient pollution, of course. Next slide, please. Now, among the barriers for the transition, our main barrier is knowledge on sustainable and agro-ecological farming, which is presently low among farmers, as the availability of this knowledge in the country and its use in practice. It is one of the key barriers for agroecological transition. And actually, there's also very little on-farm processing. Added value created on farm could also be improved because most dairy farmers just sell their raw milk to big dairies. However, the number of processing dairy farms is slowly increasing, and as observed, their environmental and economic sustainability is comparably better, as well as for them, the niche product realization is slightly easier because there is less competition, but overall, there's quite low farm entrepreneurship, and it's still a challenge, as is the realization of more sustainable products, since there is limited consumer interest. Few other issues, such as low cooperation among farmers, does not help for product realization and may also be important issue and a likely reason why small family farmers associations are rather weak in terms of advocacy and leadership. This results in underrepresentation of small farmers' interest on the political level, and yeah, these are the main barriers actually. And next slide. Right. So throughout the case study activities, policy recommendations and other key actions and instruments have been co-constructed with multi-actor platform members, and they are designed basically to facilitate transition to agroecological farming system. And what is important primarily is the improvement of access to knowledge on agroecological farming, uptake of this knowledge to education, field days, individualized consultations, and access to high quality advisory service is also very important, or availability of expert support on sustainable farming methods. In the near term, support for improvement of sustainability of farming systems throughout the transition period might be very beneficial, as well as measures such as result-based payment schemes aimed at reaching environmental targets would be also very beneficial. Also highly important is to address the key challenges of farm economic sustainability by incentivizing on-farm processing and improving value chains, as well as improving access and uptake of local sustainable produce through validated and innovative marketing incentives, such as local sustainable food fairs and sustainable food markets, as well as more public procurement of sustainable goods. And the agricultural policy should incorporate the transition to agroecology and improvement of sustainability of small-scale dairy farms in their long-term strategy, because without political direction, things are gonna stall. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So among the key findings is the need to improve the farmers' knowledge on agroecology and more sustainable farming. Also, what was repeatedly stated by different stakeholders during the case study investigation is that there's a need of strong political direction and political will regarding where should the dairy sector head to. On-farm processing should also be encouraged in order to improve economic sustainability of smallholders, and there's a need of better uptake of local organic or agroecological sustainable production, and capacity of farmers associations should be improved. So thank you.